because you shouldn't have those questions being asked. You know, how would I cope if I ended up upside down in turbulence? How would I cope if I ended up spinning? I like to take people there. And as I said, fear is the unknown. If it's not unknown, it's not there.
G'day everyone and welcome to episode 197 of the Flight Training Australia podcast, the podcast all about flight training and flying in Australia and beyond. My name's Trent Robinson, I'm your host. G'day, thank you for joining me. Well, got a great episode today. Joining me, Mr. Phil Unicomb of Phil Unicomb Aviation. If you haven't seen him on Instagram, you may have seen students receiving the PES hat when they achieve something, new milestones. That's the one. And he has been around for quite some time. Lots of words of wisdom about to be shared with us. And I don't really see any other reason to delay than to get into it. But they have just been doing some fantastic videos on YouTube as well, which we'll talk about at the end. And a link to Phil's YouTube channel will be available in the episode description, so make sure you check all that out. All right, so without further ado, enjoy the interview. So, ladies and gentlemen, for my next guest today, this guest, he took a look at aviation industry and said, hey, I need to do something about this and let's fix it. So from New South Wales, instructor safety advocate and examiner and a man who has voluntarily stalled more airplanes than most of us have had hot dinners, I'd like to introduce you to our special guest today, Phil Unicomb. Phil, thanks for joining me, mate.
My pleasure. Nice to be able to join you. Good to be seen by you, Trent.
It has been a long time since we first met. And like I told you when we reached out, when I saw what you were doing, and thanks to Jono to help accelerate that process along. You've been talking to a topic that is very much a subject that's dear to my heart, and I have discussed and raised multiple times. And thank goodness you've jumped on board as well and recorded some videos as well, because that is definitely going to make all our lives helpful and just describing what's going on. But look, before we get into that, let's just have a bit of a chat about who you are for those that may be unfamiliar. And I noticed that two amazing things in the world happened in 1976. I was born and you started flying. We got into some aerobatics. Started getting into some aerobatics and things in the 80s. You had Action Aerobatics back then, which is sort of the banner that I met you under when you came over to Perth to do my low-level aerobatic rating in the Nanchang there. And then Skyaces formation aerobatics team. If you've flown Tiger Miles, Harvards, right through the jets and things. Stint at the Royal Newcastle Aero Club, and now Phil Unicomb Aviation. So, and probably more importantly, a recent award winner with the Col Pay Award for lifetime service to aviation. So, big congratulations on that one, mate. Well deserved.
Very kind of you. That was a wonderful surprise. Very nice. Really, really great.
So. Let's get into it. So let's have a chat first about, how did you get into aviation? Have you got family and that, or was it just a little boy looking up at the sky?
I was the first member of the family to get into flying. Yeah, my father's side of the family were farmers on the land, tilled the soil, Trent.
Yeah.
Mother's side were railway people. Yeah, so I just got interested in aeroplanes when I was about 14 and there you go. That's where it all started.
Yeah, fantastic. And you learned in New South Wales, did you? Or
yes,
did you learn to fly in?
Basically in the Hunter Valley. It started off in a Cessna 150 and soon after that went to Tiger Moth.
Beautiful. What a perfect combination.
I've still got a Tiger Moth, yeah.
You do? Right. Yeah, well, I first flew the Tiger after I got my GPT at the time, now an RPL. Which was very good because the Royal Aero Club in Jandakot had one, and that was a great move because that helped be a bit of catalyst to. Well, I did the Chipmunk first, and then the Tiger Moth. Helped me be around to do scenic flights while I started building up my student pool. So that was good.
Excellent. Well, you'd be well acquainted with my old mate JD then.
Yes, we have worked together for a long time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's in the semi. I think he's trying to retire anyway. He's he's nearly there.
Yes.
And yeah, okay. And then obviously you, what were you doing for work? And then what sort of led it to become a career path versus a bit of
Well,
a hobby at the time?
here's the story. When I left high school, I knew I wanted to fly for a living, but I had to self fund, so I needed to get a job. And I
So
wanted
the
something with
self-fund thing. So the bank doesn't pay for it like a
the
lot of
bank
people
didn't
now.
pay for it, and Bank of Mum and Dad couldn't afford it. So
Yeah.
Bank of Phil had to come up with some bright idea. I needed a job that was going to be reliable and paid reasonably well. I didn't want to, get a job as a labourer or something like that. And going to teachers' college and university, in those days, you got tertiary education allowance, but it didn't give you any more than that. So, believe it or not, I started work for the Health Commission. I started working in hospitals as a student nurse. I thought that sounded like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
because
did that?
there was
I don't know
shift.
if I can picture that, or if
Well,
I don't
look,
want to
I,
picture that,
I
I'm not sure which
liked
one
I
it is.
liked I liked science.
Yeah.
I liked the idea of shift work. Didn't like the idea of shift work. Sorry, I liked the idea that shift work paid better,
Irregular work.
and I really liked the idea that there were lots of girls,
Yeah, so I can understand that.
lovely girls. So I had a nice social life. Anyway, so I stuck to it. And that's how I paid for my commercial pilot license, working in hospitals, which I ended up hating. I hated it because it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So when you know what you really want to do and you're forced not to do it, you're going to resent it, aren't you?
Yeah.
It didn't do me any harm. But anyway, that's the story in
And
brief.
and what was the hourly rate back then when you were learning? Do you remember?
$28 an hour
Beautiful.
to learn to
No landing
fly.
fees existed back then.
No, that's right. And I was earning enough money to do an hour's flying a week at least, pay my car off, pay my rent, and feed myself.
Yeah.
So that's how I did it.
Yeah, wonderful.
Didn't hurt me. Didn't hurt me. Character building, Trent.
100%.
Character building.
100%. So what then led you to get into aerobatics and things? What was the
Honestly,
factor
mate,
there?
I learnt to fly for the sake of aerobatics. It's all I wanted to do. I
Yeah,
really
great.
did. I knew I didn't want to be an airline pilot. I didn't want to be an Air Force pilot either because I suppose, too much of a free spirit. Didn't want to be told where to live and have to get a haircut and all of that sort of thing. I know that sounds silly, but that's how I was then.
Yeah, no, I get that
So I learnt
completely.
to fly to, yeah, that's why I started flying. So I got into aerobatic flight as soon as I could.
And what was
It
the
was just one
aircraft
of
you
those
learned in?
things I
Was that the
wanted to
Tiger or
free
something
to.
else?
Tiger Moth was the only aerobatic airplane available to me at the time.
Yeah.
And there you go. So I got into that. And then I got into competition aerobatics fairly soon afterwards because I needed I needed some sort of yardstick. I thought, well, how am I going? How can I measure myself, my progress? So yeah, I started competing to find out how I was going. I didn't have too many people to help me really fine-tune skills and things like that. But anyway, there you go. It was a long time
And,
ago, and lots
and
happened
was
since
that
then.
through the Aero Club, like the
It
ALAC
was.
sort of convention? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Then later on, I got into the Australian Aerobatic Club competitions, etc. Competing in Australia, competed overseas a little bit. Then I was working as a corporate. My first job, my first job was as a corporate pilot for Weldon International. So I did that for about 6 years, and then I started a school. I started Action Aerobatics in the Hunter Valley.
And what was that like, setting up a company back then
Oh,
in a
it's just
flight
what I
school?
wanted to do. I love being self-employed.
Yeah.
I'm unemployable, Trent.
No
I
one else will
ran.
have you.
Yeah, yes, I ran Action Aerobatics for about 22 years after I finished working for Weldon's, and then a small stint as CFI at Royal Newcastle Aero Club for about 8.5 years or so. But again, I don't like working for other people. I reinvented myself again and started PUA in 2019. And best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
It's on the up and up, and I'm really enjoying it. We're still in the growth phase, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, look, I'm loving, again, it's a Soul 141. And everyone keeps going, you're going to expand this. And I don't want to have other people be responsible for and this and that, the other. It may well happen, but certainly just being able to run things the way you like and have that autonomy is, and a good team
Yes,
around you. It's awesome.
yeah, absolutely it is, but it's not for everybody. You're either that style of person or you're not, aren't you? And that's exactly how I like to operate.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's brilliant. All right. And then obviously I guess some formation came in along the lines here and doing some displays and things. And
Oh, yes, we did lots of stuff like that. Yeah, early air show work was in vintage airplanes, Tiger Moths and Stomps back in the early 80s. And then around about the late 80s, around about 1990, got into pit specials. We imported some Pitzers. And following that, Warbird work. At the same time, I was teaching with Action Aerobatics. And a great variety of things. So I've been very fortunate over the years to have flown a great variety of different sorts of airplanes. And I didn't start, well, I suppose I had a fair bit behind me before I started as an instructor.
yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of young people these days get a brand new commercial license and then get an instructor rating straight away with nothing behind them, no library of knowledge to draw on. So I'm glad I didn't do it that way. I was a star. I'd been flying for about 10 years before I did my instructor rating.
Yeah, brilliant. And
And I
would be
think
the
that
absolute
didn't hurt me.
ideal way to do it if it was more accessible to get experience before you came back to the instructor path.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the significance of that in a little bit, I'm sure. It's so for those that sort of haven't had much exposure to aerobatics, I think it's becoming less and less of a normal thing, I guess, as aero clubs have, we don't have 152 aerobats anymore or Cap 10s and other such
Not
aerobatic
many.
aircraft. Some have got decathlons or Citabris and that sort of stuff. But what do you reckon the impact of that is on the general handling skills of pilots these days before we sort of get into the stalling and other stuff that we're going to talk about?
Well, the impact of that is exactly what you would think it would be. Yeah. So most flying schools now either operate the standard American singles, 172s and Cherokees, or diamonds and that ilk. The flying training is very two-dimensional. Everyone flies tricycle undercarriage aeroplanes and doesn't go beyond 45 degrees of bank. And that has its ongoing. Well, the problems are stemming from that. I suppose,
definitely.
aren't they? Mm.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because again, people see, again, talking from my own personal experience, some maneuvers all the way I handle an airplane and go, how do you do that? And you just know where up and down is and all that. So, look, aerobatics just played such a massive part in that, and just being so comfortable in an operating envelope of an airplane and just having the aircraft and the extension of your own body and it just goes where you want it to go rather than why we're thinking so hard about just trying to do a steep turn at plus 150 hours plus. I just think if we can bring that course back in and an aircraft more accessible to do the aerobatic training, I just cannot recommend it enough. Wherever you are in the world, find a school that can do it and get into it.
General manipulative flying skills, so important, and that's
formation,
where the void is.
Same thing.
All of that sort of stuff.
Putting an aeroplane on the runway where you want it to be next to another one, instead of just floating down and being happy where you end up.
Yeah, yeah, all of the above. There's a great void there.
Absolutely. So with the change from the Day VFR syllabus to the Part 61 syllabus that we've now got, did you have much involvement with that transition? And remember, I don't know if you went. I think that was one of the CFI conferences where we did catch up and looking at that. And did you realise some of the impending issues then? Do you think, or it wasn't
I
all
don't
that
think
obvious?
any of us did. I don't know whether any of us did, Trent. Did we?
No.
We didn't know how it was going to be. Look, I may be condemned for saying this, but give me back Car 5 any day. Give me back CAO 40.1.7. We all knew what we were doing then.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So, and we talked about this on the phone a few weeks ago, that the irony of a Dave VFR syllabus, which for those that don't know, that was the syllabus we followed, that really only prescribed the now RPL, then GFPT through to CPL. Instrument ratings, aerobatic ratings, design features, all this other stuff. There was the CAOs that had a syllabus of theory and stuff on there, but effectively no real syllabus itself. We kind of made it up. And this is the irony now, isn't it? That we've got it more prescribed than ever, yet seem to know less about what we're trying to do, for those new to the game anyway.
That's a good way to put it. Unfortunately, a good way to put it. It can be very confusing. And anyway, open to a lot of interpretation, lots of different opinions, opinions of things, confusion.
Do you feel the likes of you and me, just as representatives of the former era, are not in industry as much, and so the retention of that, knowing of how it was and what we used to do, which technically, if we do look at the mods, a lot of it is all still there, but how to do it and understand it all has been lost. And so now it is a bit of the blind leading the blind. Again, everyone doing the best effort they can, but you don't know what you don't know.
That is true. And I find that when I'm mentoring people now through the school, younger instructors, etc., I am looking back at how, when in doubt, if we can't find if nobody can agree on how something should be done, how we should interpret the MOS, etc., let's think about what we used to do and how that worked, and apply that. And that's never let us down, really.
Have you got an example, other than the stalling and all that, but another area that you can think of, putting you on the spot?
You are putting me on the spot, but that's all right. Well, yeah, there you go.
A veteran like you.
Yeah, there you go. Go back to CAO 40.1.7. You know, it was. I keep a copy of it just for fun to show people. So look at this. Isn't this a wonderful document? Everything was spelled out. Even with those days, we used to write in people's logbooks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it showed it
used to be all on the shelf.
It listed what words you should write in a person's logbook. For example, I consider John Smith competent to fly solo by day in XYZ type aeroplanes. Yeah. Formation endorsement, aerobatic endorsement.
Effectively a 61-385 check of the time.
Just quickly. Now, another one that just came to mind then, particularly looking at Jono, supervision of grade 3 instructors. Come on. It was all spelled out so simply and beautifully in CAO 40.1.7. Nowadays, ask 5 people about supervision of grade 3 instructors and you get 5 answers. Or, I don't know, why don't we just do it the way we used to and then we'll be covered? It's still grey, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because with the changes to the flight school system, then followed by Part 135 and everything else, the other, 20.7 point for Bravo and 1 and Bravo and all that, with the performance things and all that, I was just talking to someone about it before, that a lot of the expositions and ops manuals for companies now is, rather than have all this stuff prescribed as this is how it'll be done, it's like, well, what do you think? You tell us. And that works two ways. I think if you know what was and what was sort of the standard, how you could structure something works well. But if you don't know, it leaves you really vulnerable. And I think this is where CASA has gone wrong a little bit, that they've made all these changes, removed 15% safety factor from private operations, for example. It's not in the Part 91 mods. You'll find it in Part 135. But even some people in CASA don't know this.
Well, I was kind of alluding to that. Remember, I mentioned the fact that we might ask a handful of people the same question, and we get a handful of different answers, and I hear that a lot.
Yeah, and if it's not your area of expertise, it's really hard to keep up with.
And look, I'm laughing. I'm laughing on the inside right now because there'll be people out there thinking, look at those two old fellas talking about what it was like when they were lads. When I were lad, this is what. Yeah. So I don't want to sound like that, but no, I'm sure I do.
I think, well, I'll call them my listeners. Know me well enough that I would like to think about as evolved as it can be with embracing modern technology and this and that, the other. But sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I know we had to do it from a legislation ICAO perspective, but it's very interesting that like I said, we seem to have things more laid out than ever before, yet know less about what we're actually trying to do than ever as well.
Did we really have to do it though, Trent? Did we really? The promise that I had was made to me at one of the conferences. The reason we need to change over to Part 61 is because there'll be no need for exemptions anymore.
Yes, and was it by the end of the first week? I think there was nearly 300. Yeah,
no,
and what you can do today, you can do tomorrow.
This is why we have to do
true.
Yeah, this is why we have to do this, because we've got dozens and dozens and hundreds of whatever exemptions, and under Part 61 there will be no need. There will be no exemptions. I thought, oh well, that kind of didn't go the way it was planned.
No, and then we got exemptions, and and you have to know that the section you're reading has an exemption in the first place, to now then go try and find it, and even that's difficult. Yeah, it is. It can be a minefield, but it is what it is. All right, well, let's talk about one thing that was in the DAVFR syllabus, and that was this term stall stick position. And those that have listened to the podcast know a bit about it because I've talked to them about it.
Good.
I use it all the time. Obviously, ever since, we met you, was 15 years ago, whatever, at Fighter Combat there. And you taught Jeremy and myself and all that. Yeah, 20 years ago maybe. But, that was when, we first sort of came across the concept, even though it was in the DAVFR syllabus in front of our face. We tended to do what our senior instructors did and taught us. And totally blew my mind and changed my world back then, and have done it and embraced it ever since.
Well, that's wonderful feedback. Thank you. Yeah. It was my pleasure to introduce it to you. It's a wonderful training tool, isn't it?
Look, it is. And for those that don't know, Phil and Jono have spent considerable time, effort, and resources in putting together some fantastic videos on stall stick positions, stalling, some of the myths, T-tails, normal tails, angles of bank, critical angle, all the terms and myths and stories, and stalled, as I said, just about more airplanes than most of us had hot dinners. So let's just start where this idea first came about, a little bit about stall stick position, and then we'll start running through, some of the video content, just in a very. It will be here all day, but more importantly, some of the feedback that you've been getting, both positive and negative, because again, I think that's what really just highlights the problem and the bravery almost of like me doing this podcast and putting myself out there to ridicule. YouTube is just the same, and you can certainly feel like, hang on, have I got something wrong here if you're not careful? Because
YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah, keyboard warriors. So let's just go through stall stick position first, and sort of where this has all sort of come about.
So you're saying, where did I first make this discovery? Very early. I think once you start doing three-dimensional flying, so many things become obvious. I'm sure you'll relate to that. I certainly didn't invent it.
No, just be clear.
Way before me, and talking to other people, hearing these terms used, aerobatic pilots. As soon as I heard the term stall stick position, nobody had to explain it to me. That's what it's called, the Buffett position. Yeah. and this is something that Noel Cruz championed for years. Incidentally, Noel's coming over to see me in a week's time. It'll be lovely to have him here. He's written some great books, which you're no doubt aware of. So I started delving into the concept of stall stick position deeper, particularly as a training aid. What is it? Well, in brief terms, we know that the stalling angle, critical angle of attack, is a constant. You learn that very early days, don't you? Stalling angle of attack does not change. A whole lot of other things change, but the stalling angle of attack doesn't. And when we nibble the critical angle of attack, the airflow over the upper camber of the wing separates, tumbles backwards and strikes the tail and shakes it, which can be felt through the column. So if you're pulling on the column to the stage where you feel burble or buffet, you must have just nibbled or arrived at the critical angle of attack. It's a no-brainer. If we note the location of that position, note where the control column is with reference to the neutral and full aft position, that is known as the stall stick position, and that will be a constant. It will always be in that position in any given configuration. What do I mean by that? Flap setting, basically. Anyway, don't go auguring on too long about it, Phil. So I started to use it as a training aid, and of course, in aerobatics, it's essential knowledge. You know, if you don't understand the limit, you're not going to be able to fly a loop, for example, if you're stalling all the way around a loop by pulling too far on the column. But stalling's traditionally been blamed on bank angle, pitch attitude, and airspeed. It still is, not angle of attack. The term angle of attack is mentioned, but nobody really understands what it is. People say, oh, you stall when you exceed the critical angle of attack. Well, how do you do that? Oh, I don't know, but you just stall when you exceed the critical angle of attack. It's not talked about.
Yeah.
Those other things are blamed.
No, perfect. Do you think, again, it's I think some schools have this feeling that, well, you know, to do stall stick position on stalling lesson 1 is a bit too advanced, that those that do know about it. And, you know, we can't trust them that they understand energy management properly and get the stick forward enough that they're not going to secondary stall and all this.
Quite the contrary. Quite the contrary, Trent, because it's much more simple and straightforward, much more simple, certainly not complicated whatsoever. I start instilling elevator position awareness from the get-go because that's what it's all about. If pilots have elevator position awareness instilled in them from the beginning, they understand how the stall really works, and they don't want to go there, they won't go there. It's that simple. And remember, the critical angle of attack in most of our aerofoils happens at about 16 degrees angle of attack, which isn't very much. If you're stalled at 16, you're not going to be stalled at 14. The difference between stall and unstall, so far as movement of the control column goes, is very small. We convey that in our movies.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll refer to them and I'll link them all in the podcast description so everyone can go find them. But it is exactly that, isn't it? And just having the control of the aeroplane and that envelope and just really feeling it, that you feel in control rather than potentially out of control. And this is some of the problems, isn't it? That people are so afraid and end up becoming qualified pilots, instructors, dare I say it, WHOs and CFIs, who are very limited in their scope or exposure to it, when this is just, I feel, such an easy thing to combat. And do you think, you know, instructor training sometimes is to blame in that one of the first things we always do, which I think is valid to a point, that we've got to be really careful in the stalling lesson because, you know, we might lose the student here and they'll never come back. And that sort of set the tone for this over caution. And
possibly, I tell you what, when I deliver the stalling lesson and when I teach instructors to deliver the stalling lesson, I'm almost half asleep because it's so boring. I'm looking at elevator position awareness. In our briefing, we discuss the buffet position and we go out to see if we can find it. We look at it. There is the buffet position. This is not the buffet position. In and out of the stall. And people say to me, is that it, is it? Is that all there is? Yeah, that's all there is. All this old-fashioned stuff, signs and symptoms of the stall, high nose attitude, low speed, sloppy controls you may experience buffet is what the usual patter is. And the whole time that the instructor is using that patter, they've got the control column right back against them and they don't even mention it. The root cause of the stalls elevator input, don't even mention it. Come on.
Yeah.
Here's one that I like to mention quickly, Trent. Every flying school in the world has to conduct stall training. Every flying school in the world pretty much says something similar so far as stall recovery goes. They all mention forward movement of the control column, all of them, one way or another. So if every flying school in the world are telling us that you've got to move the column forward to recover from a stall, surely to goodness, you must have had to pull it back to get there. But we don't talk about that. We don't, that's not meant to, oh no, we don't talk about that. We blame all these peripheral issues, hence the confusion. One of my favourite questions on a flight review or a flight test, and I'll do it very kindly, I don't want to be a smarty bum. I ask the pilot whether they can stall the lift, as I like to call it, or stall the wing without using the elevator.
Yeah,
and tragically, 95% of pilots, regardless of their experience, whether they be 30 hours or 30,000 hours, 95% of them say, oh, yes, it's possible.
Yeah,
isn't that amazing? So I very kindly say, oh, okay, can you show me? And we make it an educational. It's impossible.
Yeah.
But they've got to see that it's impossible. They've got to get the aeroplane to show them it's impossible. This is not something you talk about in the office or in the pub. You've got to be in the aeroplane and get the aeroplane to show you.
Yeah,
and I've got to say things like that because this is where you get all that hate. It wouldn't happen in my aeroplane. You're talking about a Pitts Special, not a Cherokee.
No, well,
let's try it in as many airplanes as we can.
Yeah. So how many? I've lost track, to be honest. But how many aircraft kinds have you now done? I know there's the Tomahawk, Tiger Moth. You had the Cherokee.
Yeah, about half a dozen, but we're planning on doing a whole lot more. I was supposed to do one in our Barron today, but the weather wasn't right. So we've done several videos in our Cessna Aerobat. The first one was, can we stall without using the elevator? We try all the usual things that people try.
Yeah.
You've got to put your money where your mouth is, Trent. Prove it. It's not. It can't be an opinion. It's got to be factual, and it's got to be able to be reproduced. Scientific
Absolutely.
method.
Yeah.
We did about 3 videos, I think, 3 or 4 in the Aerobat, and a lot of our American viewers, our lovely viewers, as I say. We got a lot of feedback from America in particular. We're saying things like, you try that in a Tomahawk and you'll know about it. So,
okay.
So I got a Tomahawk and I tried it. So you've got to dispel the myths. So we used a Tomahawk. We've used an Arrow. We've used a Duchess. We've used a Tiger Moth. And
that's right.
We're going to use some Warbirds and more Twins. And we've got to have a real broad brush here.
Yeah. Well, I had a bit of a play with it in the DC-3 in New Zealand, and as presented, it works all the way up.
Isn't that amazing that it would work in a DC-3? Oh my goodness, I'm so surprised.
It is, and it is fantastic because I've actually got a copy of the RAAF manual, which was in use right up into the 90s before they sort of finished playing with them, and it's a fascinating read because it's kind of like the Air Force, right? So if there's a way, it's because they've tried all the others. And it's really good information in there on it, which was really good to see. And it just proves the whole point, isn't it? That this is not a new fad or a buzzword. This is something that's been around for quite a while and is absolutely relevant.
Exactly. Absolutely it is. Aeroplanes are still designed the same way, as I said in the Tiger Moth movie. We've got wings, we've got a fuselage and a tail, and that forms a lever, doesn't it? There's an elevator on the back of the tailplane. The center of gravity is in front of the center of pressure. They're all like that. That's how the aeroplanes are designed. They're all going to behave very similarly. Obviously, they've got their quirks, but as I said, I wanted to use lots of different types of aeroplanes because people over the years have said, oh, that only works in this or that aeroplane. They wanted to be very type specific about it. There are some differences, but fundamentally none.
Hmm. Yeah, I always remember, the full power ease forward, prevent yaw. And I'm like,
Mm,
well, okay, I just did that because that's what I was told.
yeah.
I remember questioning my instructor as to, short final. So I'm still going to push the nose forward. Oh, better that than, stall and crash. And I'm like, well, I've seen some pretty nose down attitudes and things. I don't want to do that. And then it's like, well, wouldn't pushing forward be better first? Because that's going to address the critical angle thing quicker. Oh, no, you need the power. So then the elevator's more effective. And do you hear all those views and approaches?
Yeah, oh, yes, indeed. Well, that's another reason why I like to, you may have seen this in one of the movies. That's why I did 2 loops in a row.
Mm.
2 loops in a row. So we're looking at dispelling myths. Remember, it's not a function of attitude. It's not a function of airspeed. It's not a function of thrust. It's a function of elevator position. In a loop, I go through 360 degrees of pitch, every pitch attitude in the world, and a fairly enormous range of speed. And I marked the stall stick position in the aerobat in that case and stalled many times around the loop, and then I did it again. So the cameras could show you that the stall stick position was a constant. The angle of attack was a constant, in other words, regardless of attitude and speed. So the first thing we've got to do to, get rid of the stall is reduce the angle of attack. Remember I said that the difference between stall and unstall is only a couple of degrees. If it's stalled at 16 degrees, it's not stalled at 14. You don't have to perform a 500-foot dive to recover from a stall.
No,
It's
that's
not
right.
the attitude that did it. It's the angle of attack. Another little movie we made was to try and have people understand the difference between pitch attitude and angle of attack. They're related, but not the same.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm talking too much.
No, it's exactly what we're here to talk about. And it's one of the, now I've got your videos, but one of the videos I always used to refer to was Matt Hall and the Rebel Air Race at, I think it was Las Vegas or Detroit or wherever it was, where
Yeah,
he did hit the water, but just
yeah.
understanding, such a great example of unloading the wing just enough and cracking the critical angle just enough to just then power out of it. If he did the flight school recovery, he'd be a submarine. And it's such a good video to show that in such a sort of high speed dynamic environment.
Yeah, yeah. Young Matthew, he's not a bad lad.
He's in your neck of the woods.
Yes, yeah, we catch up. Yeah.
I
Down at
texted
Lake
him just the
Macquarie.
other day about something, but yeah, I've got to see if I can catch up with him when I'm over there, over your way in a month's time.
Well, that'll be good.
I have to
It's a
go
great
do
idea.
some stalling together.
Yeah, with respectfully.
Yes, definitely. I'll ask where I weigh first. So, all right. Well, let's get into another myth. This is one that I'm finding alarmingly coming up all the time, and that it's resulted in certain T-tail aircraft being used as training platforms, which is absolutely not a problem. But there's this concept that you can't stall them fully, otherwise they'll deep stall, and you won't be able to recover. Do you want to touch base on what that means? And obviously, we can then talk about a certain video that you've just released in the Tomahawk, which is
Well, I've certainly not found that in my experience. Certainly not found that. So recently we've used the Tomahawk and the Duchess, both T-tails. Firstly, the Tomahawk, we identified the buffet position, stall stick position. I marked that for our lovely viewers. And then, of course, went to full up elevator to demonstrate the difference. The Tomahawk has quite a vigorous buffet, so, that's fine. It's easy to find that the buffet position, therefore. And all you've got to do is control the yaw, and if you keep that column right back, you can have the elevator fully raised, As long as you control the yaw, you'll just do a falling leaf and flutter down. I had no problem with it behaving any differently than most single-engine aeroplanes. And indeed, exactly the same comment I'll make about the Duchess. No
Yep,
drama at
and
all.
I've done the Seminole,
Indeed,
Diamond
yeah,
20s, 40s.
indeed. Let's go there with the Duchess. So you can easily find on YouTube these days videos on spinning the Duchess. So they spin quite well. The Beechcraft did lots of spin tests in Duchesses. As I said, you can find that on YouTube any old time, where they were stable upright spins. They well and truly developed. Half a dozen turns with
Pop out
a
the other end.
standard recovery, no problem at all. So I would have to call that a myth.
Yeah, no, 100% it is. And then somehow it's extended, I think, from like they said, the 727 coffin corner kind of concept, but how this has now entrenched itself a bit in GA. But like I said to you earlier, more the concern is now we have schools using these aeroplanes running this concept. So therefore they're not even delivering the syllabus. So they're not doing proper stall recoveries. They're doing hit the buffet recoveries, which ultimately is what we want to do. Hey, don't stall. This is all stall prevention. But even now we're going down the stall prevention pathway, which is 100% something we need to talk about, but they're not actually being assessed in all the different types of stalls that we're supposed to be delivering.
That is exactly right. People say,
and that's more the drama.
Yes, exactly. And people often, I have often heard this. We teach stall avoidance at our school. We teach stall avoidance. And I will say, yes, you're teaching stall avoidance by avoiding to teach the stall. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's mainly because the instructors aren't completely comfortable. And that's through their lack of understanding too. And another example along that line is something I was addressing today in a movie that we're about to make, and that's on the VMC demonstration.
Yeah, great.
In multi-engine aeroplanes. Yeah, so many instructors are very reluctant. Let me say that again. Many instructors are really reluctant to do a proper VMC demonstration when they're training their students because they fear it. Fear is all about the unknown, of course. So what I am doing and have done is I'll take it right to the limit and a little bit beyond in the Duchess. The recovery is quite straightforward. You just pull the power on the live engine.
Like you brief it, but just don't do it.
So I think I'm saying this is all in a similar vein. A lot of these things aren't taught. They're avoided out of the instructor's own fear.
Yeah, and then that's where that extends, isn't it? That we've had
a technical failure.
Time for a top up.
How about that?
We have, I think, now I've lost my train of thought. We have these concepts that have then kind of stopped us thinking about this and go, hang on, well, why is that? And the typical one for VMCA stuff is there's been more training accidents, training for VMCA than there has been aircraft who've actually got into that loss of control state. But the question then I think is important to ask is, well, what were the qualifications of that instructor that had the accident? And yes. I did an episode, however many it was, when we were getting this string of VMCA accidents in America. And a lot of them was because they had someone in the back seat and diminished the elevator authority and made it unable to recover, which is, again, don't want to hypothesize, but potentially something to do with the horrible accident in Goolwa. But I think it's important that we don't just go, oh, there's a training accident, well, we better stop doing it. I go, hang on, why did that happen? What were the qualifications? What was their training? What was their experience? What was the aircraft platform? Because the Duchess, you've got the knowledge of that background there, but, if it's a 210, a 310 or a Baron or something else, obviously not as forgiving potentially, depending on what it is. So we've got to include all that in it. But again, coming back to the suitability of training aircraft, isn't it? Because they're picked and designed for all of these reasons, which is where the Aerobat was so fantastic. You know, we could
Yes.
push the aircraft to a point where a lot of the aircraft
Well,
being used today, we've got to be so careful.
absolutely, but that's right. Along those lines, we remember the airplane is a three-dimensional machine. It naturally operates about three axes in a three-dimensional environment, an ocean of air. Our general flying training is only equipping us to handle the aeroplane through two dimensions. Now, if I said that to a 10-year-old, I'm sure that they'd find a problem there. So I like to go through to the three-dimensional thing. It's essential that we take our students through all of those dimensions, or as many as we're able to, so that they know where the limits are. And it takes away the myths. And so far as the VMC stuff goes, I like to conduct the exercises at altitude, properly pre-briefed, and I like to, we'll get one engine on climb power. I'll be holding the throttle on the live engine, and I'll continue to change the flight path until I reach red line, VMC, demonstrate to the student that I have absolutely all the rudder on. I'll slow down a bit more, and the full amount of rudder will be insufficient to stop the yaw and, in consequence, the roll. And once it lets go, I swiftly chop the live engine, roll level, and recover from the dive. It's very straightforward, but many people are terrified of that because they're worried, as usual, that the airplane might escape into a situation that they're unable to recover.
Yeah.
And this is a common catch cry with stall training. I've had instructors referred to me, or some instructors, this is over the decades, not yesterday, that have come to me asking for help. I don't like doing the stalling lesson. I'm uncomfortable delivering the stalling lesson because I'm frightened that the airplane might enter some kind of configuration that I'm unable to recover from. How many times, Trent, have I heard that?
Yeah.
And so these are all of the things that I'm personally trying to deal with to try and make things better.
And this is sort of extending, I know, very hot topic with the appropriate aircraft platform for you, like UPRT, when it eventually all becomes legislated and incorporated into syllabus and everything else. But even in the format that it is now. But I think the big thing everyone understands is these airplanes are three-dimensional. So whether it's normal category, 60 degrees, angle of bank, limited or not, the airplane doesn't know that.
It doesn't.
These skills are going to be there for when you do get into that. Yes, the aircraft design will play a factor of its ability to recover from certain phases of flight, for sure. But you got to have the skill set to have it up your sleeve. If ever, hopefully it never does. Like I said, if we teach more awareness and prevention, it's great. But just the confidence, I think, is a big thing with handling an aeroplane and not being stuck within that 30-degree bank realm.
That's right. Stuck within, say, 45 degrees of bank, 30 degrees of pitch above and below the horizon. So if the airplane escapes into bounds beyond that, we're not equipped to deal with it, even with a commercial pilot license. A lot of private pilots, as you're no doubt well aware, finish their PPL and they walk away still underconfident because they still have fears. How would I cope if the airplane ended up X, Y, or Z? If you've got a license, you shouldn't be asking those questions. That should have been covered. That's why I put my emergency manoeuvre training course together 37 years ago.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have those questions being asked. How would I cope if I ended up upside down in turbulence? How would I cope if I ended up spinning? I like to take people there. And as I said, fear is the unknown. If it's not unknown, it's not there.
Yeah.
In theory.
I like that. So with with the videos you got out there now, what has there been any interesting things that sort of have surprised you, or has it all been as
with comments?
Anticipated? Only the comments there.
Yeah. Oh, look, many and varied. And because it's YouTube and Facebook, they've gone international.
Mm,
Uh, and you wait 24 hours until they see them on the other side of the world. And mostly we're getting a lot of love, uh, getting some, the great majority of feedback is very positive and very heartwarming.
good.
But the negative feedback is mainly through, I think, misunderstanding. People haven't watched the whole video.
I just
They've watched a
seen
few
the
seconds
topic or
of it,
something.
or they
Yeah.
haven't listened. Yeah, or they haven't listened to what you actually said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then again, sometimes you get, just downright someone who just wants to hate it no matter what because of their own
They've got nothing
privacy,
else to
because
do.
it's not traditional. They have to hate it. Yeah.
It's
You know,
it's funny like you say, and I think that's the same with any topic, anything online, social media and YouTube and stuff. But even the
yeah.
fact that sometimes there's things that we can do here that you can't in America or vice versa, and you call it something and they go, it's not that, it's a pilot ticket or something is one big one I keep getting corrected on. It's
Uh,
not a license. I said, well, mate, you do understand that this internet thing's kind of global.
yeah.
It's not just in America.
Oh, we got a beauty. I did one on balanced aerodynamic flight.
Oh,
Uh,
that's a big word
yeah.
there.
Yes, that's an aerodynamically balanced flight. Yeah,
How
the
did it go?
tail's following the nose. And I had one fellow from America in particular. I've never heard such a thing. It's called coordinated flight. You should change what you're doing and get it right. You want to teach these things. Use the correct terminology. That sort of stuff. So
Yeah,
we produced a bit from the Moz, where it says aerodynamic balance. But you know what? He still wouldn't have a bar of it. So, don't try too hard.
no, look,
And as you may have found too, if you get somebody casting a bit of shade on you, usually other people in the comments will will come to your own. You don't have to lift a finger. Other people come in
that's
and
right.
howl
I
them
just
down.
said I don't get drawn into it. And the good thing is, if it
No,
generates discussion, it generates relevance to the algorithm, which means more people generally find it. And then ultimately, that means the good word's
correct. You
getting
get
out,
more
hopefully. So,
views. Yeah, get more views, and then we get to spread our message hopefully even further.
yeah. And then you
Yeah.
get your $2.33 check in the mail from YouTube that you can put towards the next fuel bill. Hopefully, it's a bit more for you.
Oh, well, you're doing very well.
No, I haven't got that yet. No, I've got to get mine going. That's the next step.
$2.33.
I know. Got to get those views and subscribers and watch hours going. So anyway, you're well
Yeah.
on your way to that.
Uh,
Now, look, I think it's fantastic that you're putting it out there and bringing this topic out. And I really do hope that pilots and instructors especially take it on board. It's a fantastic resource now, so you don't even have to do any work. You can just cue the videos. And again, I think with everything you've done, there's going to be an aircraft type that's relevant, and you've basically, at the risk of repeating yourself, you've repeated yourself. So each one is basically comparable to the other, and it shows that this is a real thing, and is such a great thing to learn. And everyone that I've delivered it to have just had their minds blown based on what they've been taught or
Wonderful.
what they thought, and just become instantly so much more confident in the airplane handling, whatever it is. So,
That's
yeah,
wonderful
thank you for doing
feedback,
that.
Trent. Yeah. Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I want to get the word out there again. The whole idea is to try and move the needle and try and make some change. I want to try and reduce. I'd like to have a crack at reducing stall spin accidents. That's my aim there, of course, is to try and be helpful.
Definitely. And this is what I keep saying, like time and time again on the podcast, is that the loss of control in flight is the number one global killer. And
Yeah,
my
people
concern
just tend
is,
to.
we're doing less and less about it and
Mm.
acting like maybe it'll just fix itself. And it's not. We need to get it out in the limelight. We need to talk about it. And in the flight school environment, that's our job. That's our role, because we're at the
Exactly.
forefront.
A lot of pilots tend not to understand exactly what does what. They're not exactly what really controls what. Now that sounds like ABC, but it's true. And so I've got a lot of more. I've got a lot more movies I'd like to make. We need more aircraft types and a little bit of variety in how we present it, and some other topics that I'd like to deal with down the track as well.
Yeah, well, I'm impressed you've had the time to do what you've done, because this is what I struggle with. There's a lot of things I want to do, but just the time to do it and do it properly. And maybe I'm too much of a perfectionist and I stop myself from doing things that I probably could have done easier.
Oh, I was just about to compliment you. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks, mate. Thank you very much. Oh, look, please keep it up. And yeah, look, I'm really looking forward. I'm coming over for Warbirds over Scone there, and then I'll be tracking direct to you on the Monday or Tuesday. We've got to organise that, but definitely keen to swing by and say g'day and have a bit of a chat, and maybe we can have another chat at that point as well and talk about something else.
I'd like to do a bit more of this with you.
Talk about it more deep.
Very good.
Yeah, we'll do a in-person one.
What a great idea.
Yeah. All right, Phil. Well, look, mate, thank you so much again for joining me, and Jono, your producer in the background there.
Yes,
I'm running
he's
solo.
a good lad.
It's great. Please keep up the good work, guys. I'll put the link to the Phil Unicomb YouTube page in the episode description, so you can have a look at that. Definitely check him out. Have a read through some of the comments and share it with your friends and add your own comments as well. But Phil, until the next time we get to have a chat, mate, thank you for joining me, and really appreciate it.
Great pleasure hanging out with you, Trent.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, mate. Cheers.
See you.
Huge thanks to Phil for joining me there, and a really great chat, really informative, and honestly, we had to work really hard to try and stay surface level on some of the things we wanted to talk about because there's just so much to discuss, but a lot of it is covered off on those interviews. Sorry, not the interviews. That's what we just did. The YouTube videos. So I implore you to go and check those out. And there is a aircraft type to suit you, and there is plenty more coming as well. So get stuck into that. And as I said, all the info is in the episode descriptions below, as well as some affiliate links I've got there. You can get yourself a nice pilot bag, $10 off as well from Nav Bags & Co, and also the digital logbook as well. Get yourself a nice discount as well. So check those out, and that's another way to help support the podcast. Or, of course, you can sign up and join on Patreon as well. All of that helps the work that I'm doing here with the podcast, and all of your support helps me immensely and keeps me going. All right, that's enough for 1 week. You guys take care, stay safe. I'm going to go back to a monsoonal week where it looks like we've got about 8 tropical lows coming across the top of Australia. Will one turn into a cyclone? We will see. We'll find out next Monday, I guess. I'll let you know. Until then, blue skies, not too much rain, stay dry, and remember the golden rule. Aviate, navigate, communicate. See you, everyone.